If you have an interview with Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, or E&Y, well, listen up, because while you're fortunate to have obtained that interview, now you're in the hot seat, and unfortunately the interviewing environment at these firms is more competitive than it ever has been. So pay attention for the next few minutes, and we'll show you exactly how to ace your interview and get that job offer so you can begin a well-respected career that you deserve. As majors which filter candidates into public accounting and consulting positions become increasingly more popular with undergraduate and graduate students, these lucrative positions become harder and harder to obtain. The increased number of applicants, coupled with the economic hardships and the historical competitiveness of these interviews, only compounds the problem, making obtaining that position an even bigger challenge. So listen up. If you do have an interview with one of these firms and you really want to ace that interview, receive an offer, and begin a career at one of these top firms, well, this is probably the most important message that you're ever going to hear. I say this because, like you, not so long ago, I was in your position. I'm Pat from the Big Four Interview Success System team, and I've been asked to share my story, my fears, the challenges and frustrations that I had when I was in your spot, and the changes since then that you need to know about, and exactly how you're going to overcome these, as well as prepare yourself and position yourself to be a top choice candidate. Now, I interviewed with Deloitte in 2008, and I received an offer for an internship position, and we all know that these internship positions eventually lead to an offer for full-time employment about 90% of the time. I mean, you really have to screw things up to land an internship and not receive an offer for full-time employment at these places. That was not the hard part. So what was the hard part then? Well, the hard part is getting through the interview process, which, as I mentioned earlier, is extremely competitive, not to mention intimidating for most people. Now, I went to a private college, and in the process of obtaining my degree, I racked up some odd $160,000 in college debt, and I had invested countless hours studying and meeting with staff and recruiters at these firms during recruiting events and informal meetings, numerous coffee outings to discuss things like, what do you do at the firm? What can I expect? How would I fit in? And that was just to get an actual interview with the Big Four. It was only once I got the interview that everything was really put into perspective. I mean, this is it. What if I don't get the offer? What then? Would I really waste all the time, money, and effort not to get a job at a firm that I really cared about working for? I mean, obviously, I could apply to other firms, or I would wait for the next big wave of recruits to apply again, which would mean I'd have to repeat the process all over again. But like I said, I needed some financial security, and I wanted that 50 to 55 plus salary straight out of college. And like you, I wanted the reputation of the Big Four behind me. I wanted to prove myself to my friends and family, but I also wanted that name on my resume that everyone in every industry in all parts of the globe recognize. One of my top fears was that I would appear nervous during the interview. I wanted to know what recruiters were actually looking for. I had no idea what questions were going to be asked, and I was tremendously scared that I would be caught off guard and not know how to respond to these questions, or at least in a way that would place me as an optimal choice candidate among many others. Like I mentioned, I was always a hard worker when it came to my studies, but my experience, I knew it was lacking, and I feared how my qualifications would match up to that of my peers. When you're in the hot seat and you get a question that you haven't prepared anything for, you can't really say, pass, next question please, when your future and everything that you've done up to this point is riding on the line. So like you, I got on the internet and researched good interview techniques and common interview questions. And like you probably realized, the information out there for interview help is outdated, and it's generally of extremely poor quality and nothing like you're actually going to see in an interview with a top public accounting firm. It's totally irrelevant and useless information. In fact, you're not going to be asked 99% of the behavioral questions that are floating around on the internet. So how do you pick out that 1% and prepare effectively? I mean, do you hire an interview coach and bring in the experts? Well, that's a great option to dramatically increase your chances, but my financial strains would not allow me to invest in an interview coach, which range anywhere from $800 to $1,200. I may be wrong, but I'm assuming that you don't have those kind of funds, or at least would be extremely reluctant to make that investment also. So let's just forget about that route. But listen up, if you have an interview for an internship or a full-time position, you likely have many of these same fears and frustrations. Fortunately, what I'm about to tell you is exactly what you need to place yourself in an optimal position to get the offer and truly impress your interviewer. I'm going to show you how to ace your interview and get a job with a Big Four firm quickly and efficiently. with a highly effective coaching system that is incredibly affordable on a next to nothing budget, that is easy to follow and implement so that you receive the offer, and it's guaranteed. Okay, that sounds great, but how does it work? Well, first things first, inside the system, you're going to learn exactly what your interviewer is looking for. We call these the attributes of interest. These are the things that the interviewer is actively seeking from you in the interview and the things that they want to hear. These are the key to you acing your interview and receiving that offer. We will work with you to identify the most relevant and meaningful experiences to develop what we call your inventory of skills. These are the assets that you must have identified. But as we will learn, not all experiences and skills that you have will be relevant. We'll show you how to pick the most relevant skills and experiences and align these with the recruiter's attributes of interest so you only hit on the things that they actually care about. You simply do not have enough time to do otherwise within the 30 to 45 minute time slot that you're allotted. The most common fear of an interviewer with the Big Four, well, it's that you'll be caught off guard by one of those tough interview questions. Don't waste your time with the thousands out there floating around on the internet because, again, 99% will not be asked because they do not apply or they are outdated. The behavioral questions that will be asked will be highly targeted towards getting you to reveal whether or not you have those attributes of interest that recruiters look for. We will give you the most commonly asked Big Four interview questions so that you can prepare responses. In fact, for every question, we're going to provide you with best practice sample responses and tell you exactly what the questions are asking so you can develop your responses and give the best answers possible. But what about asking your own questions to the interviewer? Well, you're absolutely going to be expected to have your own set of questions to ask the interviewer. This is a huge opportunity to differentiate yourself from the competition, but also express interest, if you have the right questions, of course. Since this is so important, we're going to be throwing in the 15 questions that will impress any recruiter template. These are questions that show thought, that are engaging, and will differentiate yourself from your peers while leaving a lasting impression in the mind of the interviewer when it comes time to make their decision. You'll also get Big Four interview best practice tips and techniques, including proper behavior, such as communicating effectively, what you 100% must be doing, what you should avoid doing. We'll talk about appearance, how you should dress, what to bring with you. We'll also go over interview etiquette, how to develop your responses so that they're best received by the interviewer. You'll learn the top 10 interview rules for getting the job and the most common interview mistakes that cost interviewees their offers, and much, much more, including our winning combo technique that can easily make you 5 times more likely to get the offer in and of itself. You'll learn how to eliminate nervousness and anxiety and transform it into confidence that exudes professionalism with proven techniques that really work. If you haven't done the correct firm research, well, you're in a bad spot. For one, it's absolutely expected by the firms that you do this prior to your interview. And second, you'll have difficulty answering the questions in a meaningful way and you will appear unprepared. We know what firm research needs to be done, and that's right, we've done it for you. All the firm research that you'll need can be found in our research module. Now, as one of the many bonuses I'm about to tell you about, you'll receive our Art of the Follow-Up Blueprint. A follow-up, this is your thank you letter, and it's absolutely 100% necessary, as this is an opportunity to further make an impression in the mind of your interviewer and express your interest one last time about working at the firm. You'll learn the elements that make a good thank you letter and will really make you stand out, and guess what? We've included access to real best practice thank you letter templates, which you can use or modify as you see fit. Well, is there anything else? What about the second round? Well, there's an entire module dedicated to the second round interview with everything that you're going to need to be successful at this stage, including dining etiquette and the differences between the first and second round that you need to be aware of. Use our feedback checklist to assess your progress and determine if you're ready for the real deal. This comprehensive checklist will determine where lie the areas of improvement that you need to be working on and highlight the strengths that you have. And remember, at any point you can ask one of our recruiting specialists any and all questions that you might have. We want you to feel 100% confident going into your interview. Remember that your success is our success.